Hi everyone, welcome. If you're here for the first time, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's glad to have you here. After not having seen my face for a year, I'm here to share my birth story. I've been quite hesitant to share this, but I felt led by the Spirit of God to share this. So we started trying in September 2021, and in October, like first week in October, I did a pregnancy test and it was positive. So thank God, like conception was pretty straightforward, so we didn't have issues. Glory to God. Then in the 7th week I started having symptoms. I was like, okay, yo, what's going on here? I thought this was going to be a breeze. So I felt like, so in a nutshell, I would say I felt like I had malaria and typhoid, yeah, like together. So I felt so weak, and I had to take 2 weeks off work because I just couldn't. Like most days I would lay in bed and I would just be crying because I was so frustrated. Yeah, I didn't have any other symptoms apart from that fatigue, like that tiredness. I was always sleeping because I was always tired. Like I would sleep at night, wake up tired. Anyways, so things got better like in my second trimester. Yeah, like from say January, things got better. And then I had my 20-week anomaly scan. So if you're familiar with the NHS, you're offered 2 scans, one at 12 weeks and then one at 20 weeks. So I had the 12-week one. I had that one was it in December, sometime in December or thereabout, and it was fine, everything was fine. So at the 20-week scan, the sonographer said, oh, that the baby was measuring, and was it measuring below the 20th centile or something like that. And then so they said, okay, that based on that they would offer me an additional 4 scans. So I was meant to, is it 4 or 6 scans? I don't even remember at this point, but I was meant to go into the hospital every 4 weeks. Yeah, from 20 weeks. So 24, 28, 32, 36, like that, just for additional scans based on that. So I mean, at this point, started getting worried, started googling things. I was just wondering, like I started asking questions. I said, oh, maybe the baby could be constitutionally small. I mean, I'm just 5'1", and I'm not big. I'm a petite person, and my husband is, although he's about 5'11", he's not a big framed person. So that happened, and then at 24 weeks I had another scan, and then this time they said, oh, that they noticed some resistance in the blood flow between my placenta and the baby. But so based on that, they were gonna offer me an additional scan like in the next 2 weeks, which was at 26 weeks. And then they were like, oh, the baby's still measuring small, still like on the, is it 20th or 15th centile at this point. So I was worried because I said, and I was really hungry. By the way, that's one thing I didn't mention. I was always hungry. Oh my gosh. I am a person who eats, I just eat to survive. I'm not a foodie. I mean, if the food is nice, it's fine, but I eat to survive. I don't eat because, oh my god, I don't love food like that. Yeah, you get my drift. I just eat to survive. So I went for the 26-week scan, and no, yeah, 26-week scan, and this time I was referred to a fetal specialist consultant. Yeah, I think so. So the lady herself scanned me, and she was like, yeah, the baby's measuring small. That she now said it could be something called IUGR, uterine growth restriction. And I kept asking her questions because I was eating. I was always eating. I was always hungry. So I just wondered what could be going on. So she said, well, that the only reasonable explanation she had was the fact that she said since there was resistance and blood flow from my placenta to the baby, that maybe that could be the reason why the baby was measuring small, and then I was diagnosed with IUGR. So I said, okay. I was worried at this point. That was after the 26-week scan. And yeah, I remember just calling my husband, and I was lamenting about the fact that I really wish I was in Nigeria. And like I just didn't understand the NHS system. And the thing is, we have private health insurance, but in the UK, your private health insurance doesn't cover your doesn't cover pregnancy, because they say pregnancy is a lifestyle choice. So it's not covered under your private health insurance. So I was really worried, like maybe it was God. Yeah, it was God who placed that burden in my heart. And I just prayed to God. I said, God, I need direction, because I don't know what is going on. I mean, you're hearing every time you go for the growth scans, and then you're hearing the same thing, and it's like, okay, what can I do? Nobody's even offering, like, preferring a solution. And they're just like, okay, come back in 2 weeks, come back in 4 weeks. We'll keep monitoring you. And nothing, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So I I was in my bathroom, and I heard God say, contact this person, right? I don't want to say her name here, because I don't know if she would want me to disclose her identity. But yeah, I contacted her, and I asked if she knew an obs and gynae, and she did. She immediately put me in touch with an obs and gynae. So this obs and gynae, this doctor had practiced in the UK for about 16 or 18 years before moving to Nigeria. And yeah, so she was experienced, extremely experienced, knew her onions. And yeah, I contacted her immediately. And in fact, on that same day, she was traveling, but she picked my call, and she was really nice. I told her, like, I gave her a brief summary of what had been going on. And the advice that she gave me, the advice that saved my life, was that I should monitor the baby's movements. She said, you know what? I mean, I can't examine you because it's over the phone, but I would advise you to monitor the baby's movements. And if you feel like there's any change in, even if it's just a slight change in her movements, in her patterns, please go to the maternity day assessment unit. It doesn't matter if you go 5 times a day. That's what she said. Just go, and just to be sure that all is well with your baby. So I said thank you, and yeah, I think that day was a Thursday. So I said, wait a minute, I've not really been feeling movements like that. Okay, so I had this conversation with myself, and I was like, should I go, should I not go? So I think I called my husband, and I told him, and he said, you know what, just go to the hospital. It's better to be safe than sorry. So I went at about 2 p.m. I think I just managed to eat something. Then I went to the hospital, to the maternity day assessment unit. And so they checked the baby, like the heartbeat, monitored everything. Everything was fine. They took my urine sample, and I had to wait for my urine to be tested. So I was told to wait, and I think at this point I didn't even suspect anything, because I think one of the nurses said I should wait. So I said okay, I would wait. I waited there, and this was about, was it 6 or 7 p.m. Then one junior doctor came and told me, I was like, oh madam, we saw some protein in your urine. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because you know, as a first time mom, you're a greenhorn, you don't really know much, because hey, you're just experiencing these things for the first time. So he said, oh, that he spoke to a consultant, and the consultant said that they should put me on admission. I was like, what? Admission? Why? He said, oh, they just need to keep monitoring me. I said, okay, that's fine. So I asked him if I could go home and like pack my change of clothes, because I wasn't, like, I didn't go to the hospital with the intention of sleeping over. So this was Thursday, and I called my husband. He came, picked me up from the hospital. We went back home. I just packed an overnight bag, because honestly I thought I'd be there like overnight, and I would be discharged the next day. So I packed my overnight bag, went back to the hospital, and then we were there for about, was it 30 minutes or an hour, total wait, that they didn't have any hospital beds. So we waited, and then we're then transferred to their sister hospital. The hospital we're transferred to was under the same NHS trust, so they had my records and everything. And we went there, even though that one was like a bit farther from our home. Went there because at this point I think it was about 10:30 p.m. or like almost 11 p.m. So my husband was upset, but I said, you know what, let's just go. So we went there, and then I was in triage, and I was strapped to these monitors monitoring heart rate, and I was at the triage maybe till about 4 or 5 a.m. So I think I told my husband to leave at maybe 2 a.m. I said, you know what, like just go home and rest. So then in the morning I was transferred to the prenatal ward, and nobody said anything. I think they took my vitals, they took my bloods, urine sample, and I was just told that I'd be there just under strict observation. So that was the Friday, and then I couldn't go out, had to eat like the hospital food. And I was, at this point I was really confused, because so many things are running through my mind. Like, 1, why am I here? 2, like nobody's saying anything. 3, I want to go home. I don't like being in like this environment, right? Because yeah, no one wants to be in the hospital. It's just like there was just so much uncertainty. So yeah, this was on Friday. So my husband came, like I think he came after work. Nobody said anything again, like I said. So I was told that I would get another scan on Saturday morning, that I'd be scanned by a consultant obstetrician. Yeah, very lovely lady. So Saturday morning came, she scanned me, and she said she noticed that there was a bit, like the amniotic fluid had reduced, and yeah, baby was still, I mean, measuring small. IUGR was still there, and she told me, she looked into my eyes and was like, I think I give you about 2 weeks. This baby will come out in 2 weeks. And of course, my mind, I said, God forbid.
That's your report. That's not the report of the Lord. What do you mean 2 weeks?
At this point, I was just 27 weeks pregnant. I said no. Yeah, because I clocked the 27 weeks on Wednesday, and yeah, this was the following Saturday. So just 27 weeks and a few days. So I said no, God forbid. Like, what kind of report is that? This baby's gonna grow. This baby, like, I had recorded videos, you know, because I knew that I was going to share my testimony. So I said, when this baby, I will deliver this baby at term, and when this baby comes, I will insert these clips. Like, my faith was, I was fired up. So I went back to hospital ward, and I asked her if I could at least take a walk, and she said, okay, that's fine. I mean, you can take a walk, but you will still be under like close monitoring. That's what they said. Oh, just need to
Monitor you.
So I said, okay, that's fine. Can I just take a walk like around the hospital premises, or like just outside, not too far, you know? And she said, okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, all is well, you can do that. So at about 1 or 2 p.m., I think, was it after I had lunch? I think so. I then said, okay, I was ready to go for a walk. I think my husband had come at that time. So they checked my vitals, and when they checked my blood pressure, my blood pressure was high. So at this point, I was confused, like, what is going on? I think I might insert clips, but if not, just enjoy the gist. It's like, what is going on? For goodness sake, like, Father Lord, how did I find myself here? And now they say my blood pressure is high. Like, I have never had any blood pressure issues. This is me that, I mean, fit fam, I watch what I eat. They say, oh no, don't eat too much salt. I watch what I eat. I exercise. I'm at a healthy weight. So where is all this coming from? I said, no, if it's you from the devil, I resist you. Like, I was so fired up, but I mean, at that point I was just confused. I think I cried, because I said, what kind of confusion? I was really looking forward to going out, just going for a walk, because it seemed like I was in prison. Anyways, that was on Saturday. They gave me dinner, so they kept monitoring my blood pressure, and I think I was now on like blood pressure medication. So on Sunday morning, during the doctor's ward round, they said that they should draw bloods from me every 6 hours. And this is me, who, like, I hate needles. I'm scared of needles. I was just like, God, why? Anyways, every 6 hours they would come, poke me, draw bloods, and they were checking my blood platelet levels, my kidney function levels, and my liver function levels. And yeah, nobody said anything to me at this point. Just check, and they were giving me blood pressure medication, checking my blood pressure like every hour. I just felt like elaborate at this point. I was done. I was exhausted. So on Saturday evening, or like night, maybe at like 10 p.m. or so, I was moved to the labor ward, right? And I was like, what's going on? You know, a student nurse came, packed my things, and she's like, oh, we just need to keep monitoring you. And I'm like, so is it that the monitoring that people have been monitoring me since, so that it's not enough or what? I said, okay, fine. But I was in a private room, and yeah, my husband could sleep over because it was a private room. But when I was in the other ward, it was a shared room, so nobody could sleep over. In fact, after 7 p.m, no visitors allowed. So I was happy, because I mean, it was a private room, it was new. It was like I was in a totally different hospital. Everything was new and nice. So I said, okay. I was there, and the nurse that was looking after me was like, oh, hi, welcome to this ward, blah blah blah. She introduced herself, and she was like, yeah, I would advise you, that's what she said, I would advise you, I think this baby will come out tomorrow, the following day, which was Monday. So she said, yeah, within the next 24 hours baby's coming out, because your platelet levels have dropped drastically, and yeah, it's not looking good, things are not looking great. I mean, she was a nurse, mind you. Things are not looking great. Yeah, I mean, you have preeclampsia, so yeah, baby will come out in about 24 hours. So yeah, tell your partner to come. So immediately I called my husband, and he packed his bags, and on Monday morning he was there. He was in the hospital with his bags. I was like, look, they said they're bringing out this baby. Well, I don't know why she did that, but maybe it was, you would see as I narrate my story, that it probably was a blessing in disguise. So on Monday, so my husband started sleeping in the hospital from the Monday. He came on Monday morning. And so like I said, they had been drawing blood and doing blood tests every 6 hours, still monitoring my blood pressure. I was still on blood pressure medication. This was Monday morning. The doctors came on their ward rounds, like they came with their army. I said, ah. And it was a big room, because the room was for like someone who was having twins, so it was really big. And they came, you know how these doctors will come and they're like, oh, okay, so we need to keep monitoring you, you have preeclampsia. I was like, hold on, what is going on? Can you people explain to me? They were like, oh, the thing is, it doesn't have a cause, it just happens. It's just unfortunate that yours has happened so early in your pregnancy, because we usually see these it usually happens from like 30 weeks or 32 weeks, or yours is happening at 27 weeks. You know, we'll just be monitoring it day by day, but the baby will have to come out soon. And I said,
God forbid, in my mind, I reject your report because I will be here and I will deliver at term. I said, even if it's 37 weeks on the dot, I will deliver at term.
that's what I told my husband. You know, we were praying, we were so full of faith. So as at Monday afternoon, they came back with blood. They're like, oh, the blood test results are fine. My platelet levels had increased, but then they were already preparing me for surgery. I didn't know. So they were like, oh, we'll bring the neonatal team to speak to you, the pediatric team to speak to you, the surgical team, the anesthetic team, this team, that team. They said, oh, you need to get like 2 steroid shots for the baby's lungs, and those shots were painful. You need to get this magnesium drip. That magnesium drip is like, you are hot. It's like, I don't even know how to explain. It's like there's fire in your insides. Oh, they're like, oh, if your platelet levels are still low, you need a blood platelet transfusion. And I was like, God, it was just so much information at the same time. And I was like, what is going on? So on Tuesday morning, the doctors had their ward rounds. They came to my room and they're like, oh, I mean, everything with you is fine. Your blood platelets stable, liver and kidney function still high but not too high. At least they've been stable. Blood pressure stable. However, we need to balance, like there's a scale. That's what the woman said. So this is a scale to your life, the baby's life. We need to ensure that both are balanced. Apparently the only cure for preeclampsia is delivery of the baby. So on Tuesday afternoon, I think a member of the surgical team, a consultant came in and was like, oh, we've been monitoring. So I was strapped to that baby monitor, the heart rate and contraction monitor. I was strapped and said, oh, you are fine. However, the baby's heart rate is dropping and they're gonna bring this baby out in 30 minutes. We just need to clean the theater, get it ready, and then you're going in. So at that point, I mean, I was like, I think I was numb. I just didn't feel anything because I was so full of faith, and I was confident. I knew that, I thought that wasn't gonna happen, you know. And I was numb. So I think what my husband and I did, so mind you, my husband was still there, so he was still sleeping in the hospital, and he was there, he was by my side. And I said I wasn't gonna cry in this video. So the surgical team came, and I think the anesthesiologist came and, you know, brought the papers for me to sign. I said, you know what, just bring this thing, let me sign. I wrote my name and I signed. And yeah, they were like, okay, we'll see you soon. So that nurse, oh, I've forgotten her name, the nurse that was on duty, she was a godsend because she was so nice. She made me feel like calm, even though like I was panicking, like in my head I must have been screaming. But I was just numb, so I was just calm, and she's like, oh, don't worry, everything will be fine, I'll be there. She held my hand. So my husband and I prayed. We called our pastors, they prayed for us, and we called our parents as well. And then yeah, I was wheeled to the theater, and the procedure didn't last long. I think it lasted about 20 or 30 minutes max. And yeah, that's how that's how my daughter was born. Shout out to that anesthesiologist, that man, because I held my husband's hand on the right, I held him on the left, like the anesthesiologist, and I was just like I was just like, hey, I was scared, like I was shaking. And then yeah, she came out, she cried, and we're like, okay, thank God she's alive. And then woof, the neonatal team whisked her away. And then they like, I think they intubate her, or they like give her an oxygen mask and all, because I mean she was just 810 grams, so you can imagine how tiny she was. I didn't even get to do, like, you know, that golden hour, first hour, skin to skin. Didn't get to do all of that. And yeah, that was my birth story. Like, everything just happened. It was like an out of body experience, and I think I was numb. And I think a few hours later, the nurse came to harvest colostrum. Can you imagine? Like, can you really imagine after that traumatic experience? But as I said, I was numb. My body was there, but my spirit was on, my mind was maybe up in the air, in the clouds somewhere. That's my birth story. I know it's long, but that's my birth story. It was not what I had planned, but
it was traumatic. It was traumatic. Like, it was a traumatic experience.
Yeah, the most traumatic experience that I've had to go through. Yep. Because even at night I couldn't sleep. That night I couldn't sleep, and I just kept, firstly, I just kept feeling very inadequate. Like, yo, you had one job, and you couldn't even, like, you couldn't even do it. I kept hearing cries, like cries of a baby. Mind you, I was in the room alone, but I could hear like cries of a baby, and I, even though I hadn't met my daughter yet, because I didn't see her till the following day. I mean, I could just imagine. Yeah, I think I saw my husband took a picture, but I could just imagine like my baby being there with the nurses and crying, but I couldn't do anything. Like, it was just traumatic. I kept having flashbacks. I couldn't sleep. It was, yeah, very traumatic experience, and I don't wish this on anyone. But yeah, this happened. I gave birth in March, and yeah, the next 3 months my baby was in NICU. Yep, for the next 3 months. I probably will talk about this in a subsequent video, but yeah, my story hasn't even ended. In fact, I would say this is just the beginning of, like, the story, just the beginning of the testimony. In fact, we haven't even got to the meat of the testimony. We've just scratched the surface. So yeah, watch out for the next parts of my testimony. Yeah, thank you if you've watched till this part. Thank you so much for watching. Glory be to God. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.